All right, let's pull back the curtain on our modern world. We're going to look at the fundamental building blocks of, well, everything. These are the ingredients you never actually see, but I guarantee you use them every single day. Seriously, think about it. What's really inside that phone in your pocket, or the EV you might be driving? It's not just plastic and metal. It's this incredibly complex cocktail of rare and absolutely essential materials. And figuring that out isn't just some fun trivia. It's at the very heart of our economic strength and our national security. So let's start with a basic definition. Okay, so the official term we're dealing with is critical mineral. And that definition has two really important parts. First, the mineral has to be essential. That means we can't just swap it out for something else easily. And second, its supply chain is vulnerable. That means the path from the mine to the factory to you is shaky. It's that 1-2 punch. We desperately need it, and we might not be able to get it, that makes a mineral critical. Now, let's make this feel a little more real, because these aren't just names on a periodic table. They are the actual bedrock of the tech that pretty much runs our lives. I mean, just look at this. Silicon, that's the brain in every single computer chip. Lithium is literally the lifeblood of the batteries in your phone, your laptop, and in electric vehicles. And those super strong little magnets you find in EV motors and those giant wind turbines, you can thank rare earth elements for those. Heck, even the catalytic converter in a gas car or the electrolyzers we're going to need for a hydrogen economy, they all depend on platinum group metals. These things aren't just important, they're foundational. And that brings us to the core of the problem. If this stuff is so vital, what happens when the supply gets squeezed? This is what a lot of experts are calling the global supply choke. To really get a handle on this choke point, you have to understand the journey, right? It all starts with extraction, literally digging the raw stuff out of the ground. Then comes processing or refining, where that ore gets turned into a super pure material. After that, it gets made into components, and then finally, it ends up in the product you buy. The scary part is, a disruption can happen at any one of these steps. So let's take a look at a few minerals that are crucial for batteries. You might see one country, like Australia, dominates the mining of lithium, or the Congo for cobalt. But here's the kicker, look at who does the refining. For both lithium and cobalt, China processes over 60% of the world's supply. And for graphite, they pretty much own the whole supply chain. This shows you the real choke point. It's not just about who digs it up, but who has the industrial muscle to turn it into something usable. And the story of rare earth elements shows this shift so dramatically. Back in the 70s, the US was the undisputed leader here. But then in the 90s, China's production just took off like a rocket. And today, they absolutely dominate the market. This massive change in the global landscape is really at the heart of the supply chain worries we're facing right now. So, faced with this new reality, the US government has started to get organized. It's not just talking about the problem anymore, it's building a whole strategy around an official list. Now, this isn't a brand new worry. People were talking about this way back in 1980. But just look at how the pace has picked up recently. In 2018, we get our first official list. Then in 2020, Congress actually creates a legal definition for this stuff. And by 2022, the U.S. Geological Survey, the USGS, puts out a bigger list with 50 minerals. The focus has gotten way, way more intense. And here is that official 3-part definition from the Energy Act of 2020. So for something to be critical, it has to check all 3 boxes. 1, it's got to be essential for our security. 2, its supply chain has to be vulnerable. And 3, it's a key ingredient in making something where, if it were gone, it would cause major problems. This legal framework is what's driving U.S. policy now. But of course, here's where it gets a little tricky. The world of technology and geopolitics never, ever stands still. So this list can't be set in stone either. It has to be a living, breathing document. And you can see this process happening right now. For the draft list for 2025, the USGS is thinking about adding some really fundamental materials, like copper and silicon. At the same time, others like arsenic might come off the list. This just shows you that the government is constantly reevaluating what's truly critical based on the newest data and how supply chains are changing. And just when you thought that was complicated enough, well, there's another layer to this. Different parts of the government have different jobs to do, and that means they sometimes have different priorities. So you've actually got 2 main lists here, and they each have a different mission. The USGS list is really broad. It's looking at the entire U.S. economy and national security, mostly using historical and recent data. The Department of Energy, or DOE, is much more of a futurist. It's zeroed in on what's critical for America's clean energy transition over the next 5 to 10 years. So you have two different missions, and surprise, surprise, you get two slightly different lists.
So you put it all together, the risky supply chains, the competing government lists, all the debates, and what you've got is the starting gun for what is basically a global race for the minerals of the future. And these right here, these are the active battlegrounds in Washington. People are debating, should we merge those two lists into one? Should we add fuel minerals like uranium? And there's this constant push and pull between working with our allies to secure supply chains versus making it easier to mine and process stuff right here at home. These aren't easy questions, and the answers are going to shape policy for decades. And make no mistake, this issue has attention from the very top. This quote from a recent executive order is basically a giant flashing green light. It's a directive to the entire government to get moving on finding and developing these resources at home. It puts a real sense of urgency on every single step of that supply chain we talked about, from the mine to the factory.
So at the end of the day, our future is being built with these hidden ingredients. Every time our tech gets smarter, every leap forward we make, it just demands more of them. The global race to lock down these minerals isn't just about money. It's about who's going to lead the 21st century. The real question isn't whether this race is happening. It's who's prepared to win it.